Hi, this is Andy from MPRV News. Welcome to the origins of MPRV News, Part 14. 2018. The Manchester Punk Festival was getting closer and closer, and to add spice to it all, the actual festival had already sold out. The flyer I was looking at was very daunting for me. As I said in previous episodes, I had taken a long time out from the DIY scene, and looking at that flyer, it was very overwhelming. Only a few of the bands, probably 6, 7, I actually knew. But I didn't want MPRV covering this festival and not doing a very good job of it. These people had supported me and Shell when others had failed us. I looked at the flyer and decided I needed to go through every single band and familiarise myself with them. I also knew from past experience not to judge a band on one song, so every single band I knew I had to listen to 4, 5, 6 songs to get the feel of each band. I basically set aside 3 weekends, each weekend doing a day of the festival, and I literally went through every single band that was playing that day, which meant going to all their Facebook pages, not only to get links to their Bandcamp pages, but also to get a feel of the band and also where they was from. I knew Shell was really into interviewing bands from different countries, so I was making notes of what countries these bands were from and also making notes of the style of the music. Already to me the festival was looking far more diverse in musical styles in punk to say the Rebellion Festival, and it was very important that we got the balance right for the bands we featured. We didn't want to just go around, for example, interviewing hardcore bands or interviewing all pop punk bands. It was fair that we got the balance right for the different styles, so when we come to put the episodes out, it will feature bands with different styles and showing the diversity of the festival. For me, going through these sound files felt like back to the 80s when I was listening to all these US hardcore compilations and catching up on the US hardcore scene. But the other half of me had a tinge of embarrassment that I'd allowed myself to fall so far behind on the scene, to a point where I literally, as I said, knew nothing about these bands. But one thing I was already learning going through all these bands and their sound files was the real quality of this festival. Already you felt that extra energy off the bands. All of them was giving the impression that they was all in their prime and ready to explode all over MPRV once we started covering the festival. And each file I went through, I got more and more excited for this incoming festival to cover it. It literally took 3 full weekends to go through every band's pages and sound files to check them out. And each one I was making this list which was getting bigger and bigger of bands to balance out that we wanted to interview. It was real hard just to do that list because we really wanted to interview every single band. But you have to be realistic that you can't be in 3 or 4 places at once due to bands playing all at the same time. But I eventually got a list put together which was pretty incredible in size. And then it was a case of just sitting back and waiting for the festival to put out the times the bands were playing. And naturally then the list would trim itself down because I would have to take bands off where there was a case of 2 or 3 of them playing at the same time. But that happens at every festival, and it was really well worth putting all these hours in checking out all the bands, and it's something that I'll always do for the Manchester Punk Festival, because a festival of this size you have to be organised and have a game plan well before you even arrive at the event. And after listening to all the sound files, I was already struggling to get my head around the fact that it was £60 for 2.5 days at the festival. It was just an unbelievable price. and it was already giving me the sense that this festival had nothing to do about making money. This was going to be the proper real deal DIY trip. But I did, in the back of my head, realise that after the festival, I was going to be spending a lot of money buying records on these bands I was trying to catch up on. The festival was almost like a compilation record, a sort of giant one where you're trying to discover all these new bands for the first time. And it was great. I was really excited to cover this festival by the time I'd gone through every sound file. Another thing we had to deal with was the fact that Shell doesn't actually live in the centre of Manchester. She lives on the outskirts, and it was going to take an hour to get there and back every day. That was also going to be a real problem if one of the cameras broke down, or one of the mics, or we had a snap cable for the mics. And to carry all that gear was going to be a lot of weight because of the walking around from venue to venue. It was going to get very tiring. So we took the decision to get an hotel in the centre of Manchester. That decision was going to turn out to be one of our real good moves. Come the day of the festival, we'd made this bold decision to hit it real hard from the word go. Try and get a good start, and then you get on a roll. When I say bold decision, the first day of the festival was just an half day before we got into the full days. And because it was an half day, they was just using 2 venues, but there was opposite sides of the town. The bold decision was we've decided we wanted to get interviews and feature the opening bands on both stages. There was a slight small window to actually make this possibly happen, and we contacted the bands where we could interview one before they played and then one after they played to make it work. The window was very tight though, and to walk from one venue to the other, it wouldn't have happened. So what we did was we interviewed Now Matter from Ireland at Rebellion, and then shot the first 2 or 3 songs of the set, then jumped into a taxi which went across town to the bread shed. I literally just sat in the taxi with my camera in my hand, ready to run out the taxi and into a venue I'd never ever been to before, to get down the front, solely to get the last few songs of Arbacdio's set, so I would be able to have some live footage to put with the interview, which we did after they finished their set. I'd just like to thank them 2 bands for being flexible and helping us make it all work. It was a very hectic start to the festival, and as it turned out, it was going to be the way we was always going to be working the festival.